1 or 2? 2. You serve.
Back in Atlanta, Georgia here for the WPH Race4Eight. This is the last quarterfinal match of the day as Marco Chavez and Killian Carroll. Killian, our #1 on the Race4Eight Elite 8 Tour. And Marco Chavez is #1 on the 40 Pro Tour.
Tyler and Matt.
Going up against each other here. Marcos called his shot, though, before the match started.
0, serve 0.
He said, I'm not defeating Killian Carroll. He said, no matter what tactic I use or whatever I do, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not beating this guy.
0-0. Short. Second serve.
Well, the only time they played, Dave, Killian Carroll gave Marcos a donut. One of Killian's first stops in Tucson,
0-0.
2015. 15-0, 15-6.
Well, Marcos looks good right now.
0-0.
That was a great shot.
I'm talking about the shirt.
Oh. Marcos with a really good win last night against his LAC teammate Vic Perez, and went to dinner with those guys last night, Dave. Didn't get an invite, I just went. But Marcos said, Vic has been beating me every time we play in practice. And then he came out here in the tournament and beat him.
Then Marcos admitted in the broadcast booth here that he they play differently in practice than they would when they're in the tournament. And he said the reason why is because at the LAAC, it's a serve and shoot. You go for the bottom board. You don't do the Dave Chapman. You don't do the Tony Healy. He said, I come here, and it's the first time they've seen Tony Healy or Dave Chapman play.
Second serve.
And he said that's the mentality that you can't play that way there because it's not really allowed. But then I can see now why Marcos is so competitive when he plays in these tournaments against guys like Mondo where he takes to a tiebreaker.
Okay. So he's not really showing them that kind of game.
No, he's playing their game, and then he comes and he plays his game here.
Surprised he doesn't get lost in those different kinds of games going back and forth. You would think one would bleed into the other. And that ball broke on a Killian Carroll pass. The winner of this, Dave, will face Sean Lenning, who came in here as the #5 seed. Already in the semifinals, Dave, we have the #7 seed and the #3 seed.
1-0.
Well, I think it's a little unfortunate because Sean Lenning is clearly the best player other than Killian in this tournament right now.
Thank you. Point. Two-0.
Look at how Killian sets up on that ball. We say it every time, but it's always so impressive, those fundamentals.
3-0.
He's able to get his feet out of the way, fading backwards, and puts him in the perfect spot to get his momentum going forward. The torque
Marcos
that
takes that with his right hand. Interesting.
I was in there taking pictures. You probably saw it right before this started. And I told the players I was taking them the pictures of them warming up. We don't have a photographer here, so Killian does this thing where he doesn't really care if you are taking pictures. He's going to do his thing, and he's doing his ceiling game, and he knows that that's not going to show up well on, So he goes for an overhand tomahawk,
4-0.
hits the flat rollout in the right corner,
Short.
and Marcos turns around and said, hey, like, let's not do that anymore. And he said, and he just like looked over at the camera like, I'm trying to give the camera something, trying to blame it on me. The reality is Marcos is the guy that usually does those tomahawk type shots, and here's an instant replay.
0 serves 4.
Watch this.
I look like Naughty Jr. in one of those old clips.
That's a great instant replay. That will be on a promo. Kind of looks like Luis Moreno on the new stuff. Well, Marcos isn't getting a donut this time.
1-4.
There's his first point. That donut from Killian was on a first game, wasn't it?
Yes.
So Marcos has scored a total of 7 points now in 3 games against Killian.
Well, I would call it
counting.
2 games
And a third.
yeah. 2.3 games.
4-1.
Still not great.
7 points.
Point. 5-1.
Well, I asked Killian outright about his ability to
I didn't think about it bounced back.
improve from year to year without having anybody substantial really to play
Probably hopped it
where
a
he
little.
lives. And he said to make the game
Feels a bad bounce
interesting,
again?
he is going into the court to
Neither
try to
one
learn
side
every
again,
shot
one.
he can
I think
possibly
it
learn.
caught a little bit. I thought.
And it's clear to me that when I watch him play, that he's doing things like hopping the ball and head fakes, and there's just different, there's just
6
levels to
serves
his
1.
game I didn't see before, and I watched everything he did. So he's admitting now that, yeah,
Point.
he has to keep the game fun
7
somehow
serves
without
1.
anybody to play, and this is what he's doing. See, look at that. That's a huge natural hook serve into that left wall.
Not out. 1-7.
He's also kind of like Tiger Woods in the sense that in the only sense, if you ask him a question about one shot during the rally of a match that might have lasted an hour, he can tell you exactly what was going through his brain, and he remembers the shot. Most players can't even remember who they played after they got done playing.
8 serves 1.
I brought up a specific shot last night that I saw him hit, and he knew exactly what I was talking about.
1 serves 8. Eight serves 1.
A lot of errors here early. And there's another one for Killian.
1 serves 8.
Still leads, though, 8-1.
Yeah, you've
Short.
seen Marcos in the service box a lot, but there's no
Second
points
serve.
coming. Not easy to score points against Killian no matter what you do, and that's the reason why right there.
Very tough shot. Left-to-left pass from
8 serves
39
1.
feet. And he keeps it almost on the wall. Big setup here for Killian.
Hold it.
Ooh, no. No.
Oh, that was a shocking
serves
call, really. I mean, that was just, I don't think anyone expected it.
Well, he could have reversed it.
Point. Feel the serve. It's all good. One agrees, one disagrees. You can call it point. 9 serves 1.
That's a nice
Not
shot
out.
there. But
You
then
know, I
again,
get the sense, Dave, without even talking to Marcos,
1
that
serves
he
9.
doesn't believe he can really compete. And I'm not seeing that same kind of self-belief that he normally brings to the court.
Two serves 9.
score is 2-9 now.
Skip. 9 serves 2. Short. Second serve.
Killian just looks better than he did last year. Maybe to you, he might just look like the same guy, but he just, it seems, I know that I've seen some errors in this game, and that's kind of something that's kind of followed Killian a lot, but it never seems to show up on the scoreboard that way.
2 serves 9.
To me, he just seems much more crisp. The shots like that, you know, when you have the opportunity, he seems like his execution rate is much higher.
9 serves 2. Point. Ten serves 2. Short. Second serve.
Now 11-2.
11 serves 2.
Killian has caught Marcos going the wrong way when he hits the right corner kill 3 times now.
I was going to say every time.
Yeah. Just seems like Marcos is not reading that shot at all. Marcos is running down the right wall there. And that's just target practice for Killian. That's about the easiest shot in the game. Ball checking up off the right wall at the short line.
Point.
Dave, these last 3 games we've seen have been nothing like the first
it's
6.
This game.
And that's it for game number 1. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 3 minutes for game number 2 here of the quarterfinals between Killian Carroll and Marco Chavez. Stick around. More action at race4eight.com as game number 2 will be next in 3 minutes. Back in Atlanta for game number 2. Here's the handshake between Marco Chavez and Killian Carroll. Killian is the #1 seed. Marcos is the #1 ranked 40-plus player on tour. Killian wins the first game, though. Going in game number 2, we're going to 15. You have to win by 2.
Right.
Our announcement from the referee.
Time-in scores 0, serve. What? Right? 0-0. Thank you.
Killian says no while he's diving.
Thought he got that.
He can dive and jive
0-0.
at the same time.
Point. Hmm? 1-0. Short. Second serve. Cut out. 0-1. One zero.
You know,
Short.
Killian doesn't have to dive in this match.
Second serve.
He can save himself, but I think it's in his nature.
Well, when you're being competitive, you're not really thinking about taking plays off.
Cut out.
Killian definitely has
0-1.
the best inside-out kill with his right.
Hold it. Bad bounce. 0-1. Short. Second serve.
I'm sure if you're Marcos, it must feel good to get that first
1-1.
point. I know Killian's tied him here, but
Point.
it's nice to start a match knowing that you're not going to get a 0.
2-1. Point. Three one.
And there's 4 straight points very quickly for Killian Carroll,
4-1.
who's seeking, Dave, his 4th title in his last 5 starts. His only loss in his last 5 tournaments has been to the guy he's beat twice in the national final in the last 2 years, Paul Brady. Defeated him in New York. What an amazing shot there from Killian.
Hold it. Five one.
Marcos pulls off a junk time shot there.
1-5. Short. Second serve. Point. Two serves 5.
3-5.
This is the Race4Eight #1 against the senior Race4Eight #1. But Dave, unlike tennis where you might watch Andy Roddick play on the senior tour there, this is not the same as Andy Roddick going up against Rafael Nadal. This is a guy who's still ranked in the top 10, possibly top 8 after this tournament, and the Race4Eight #1.
Yeah.
Now in golf, David, it seems to be a little bit different. Sometimes these 50-year-old guys can compete with the young guys.
3 serves 5.
Sometimes they can do it for 4 rounds.
Right.
Not out. 5-3.
But, Dave, if Roddick did play Nadal, you'd have to think the scores would be about what we've seen here in 4 games with Marcos and Killian in their career head-to-head matchup.
Probably so.
3-5.
With Roddick having every now and then a nice run, and you say, wow, this is... But
well, I think Roddick could hold his serve on a fast indoor court a couple of times. Give him a 6-2 set.
Not out.
Then again, I watched him lose to a 60-something-year-old John McEnroe.
5-3.
So.
Short. Second serve. Not out. Three, 5.
You heard Mondo Ortiz say he's human and got a nice little chuckle from the crowd.
Not out. 5-3.
And that's a rally Marcos set up perfectly, and then he just misses the easy shot.
6-3.
Hey, Dave, what do you make of it? And maybe it's just nerves or just
second serve
being amped up, but having Mondo Ortiz try to get you removed as a referee during your match before it started. What was that all about?
I don't know
what
if
was
I'm
it about?
supposed to be politically correct here, but I thought it was very disrespectful.
But I didn't understand what was going on. What was? Do you think he was amped up and that he was emotional? And
well, he was upset that there weren't linesmen.
Mm-hmm. But he wanted you removed because then there would be no linesman and no referee. So
I guess that would be
if
better.
If you couldn't find 2 linesmen, then where are you going to get the referee now? What's the logic behind that?
I said I can't make people appear out of thin air. They're not there.
I think in a time like that, just make the broadcast booth the linesman.
Hold it.
I don't care who wins matches.
Right.
Bad bounce.
Makes no difference to me.
It was a very aggressive confrontation.
I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
But I took it as that he was just amped up and,
you know,
overcharged to play, and because the logic doesn't make sense that he'd want. If you can't find 2 linesmen, you're certainly not going to find another ref. So you better just take what you have. No, maybe I'm looking at that wrong, but
well, that's how I look.
Logic says that you aren't going to get a referee if you can't find 2 linesmen.
Both solid, Marcos. Three serve 7. Short. Second serve.
Score here is 3-7.
Replay.
You've played against Killian. Does he hit a heavy ball? Does he hit?
3 serve 7.
Does he hit as hard as the other guys on tour?
Not out.
I would say, you know, he's maybe not
7-3.
quite as hard a hitter as Mondo Ortiz, but he's certainly got adequate power.
Seems like he hits it flat, like that.
8-3.
And that flat power is the one that I always find impressive. That ball jumped up off the front wall. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Didn't matter, though.
Well, Killian does what Paul Brady did, made him so successful. He can drive the ball down the walls with both hands. And if you're driving the ball down the walls, there's not much you can do with a shot like that. You're running towards the sidewall. That's not a shot that you can set up and shoot. All you're going to be able to do is just float the ball back to the center of the court, which is going to put Killian completely in control of the rally.
Point. Nine, 3.
You watch these top players, Dave, hitting the side wall does not work. Even if you hit the side wall and force them to hit from 35 feet, it's still a setup with both hands for the top players. But those driving shots that are on the walls are really the ones that put you in control of rallies.
3.
It takes really great footwork to execute those.
Short.
You're not going to be able to put the ball down the walls off balance.
That's true. Because the ball's going to be fading
right
at some point or checking into a wall at another point. But you see so many players trying to do it. It's like almost the definition of insanity in a way.
Second serve.
And I included. Note to self, don't run and try to hit a ball down a wall.
And that's a flat rollout.
10 serves 3.
Nice to see Hurricane Nate heading our direction. Might be a tropical depression by that time.
Well, if everybody's stuck here, we could just have a second race stop.
Point.
Won't be able to do much else.
Have you ever thought about all the strange things that have happened at our race stops throughout the years?
I have.
Remember, we were going to have that stop. There's that overhit from Killian. The ball hits the front wall and pops up. But we were going to go to New Orleans that one year, and then the hurricane came there.
Right.
We were in Anchorage, Alaska, when Mount McKinley started rumbling, and they were afraid that the volcano was going to burst, and so they stopped all flights. A lot of people got delayed there. I was in the Australian Four-Wall Nationals, and we couldn't fly out because a volcano blew in Chile.
Well, you didn't really preface the question. These are all pre-race events or non-race.
Some of them are. Remember that ice storm in Houston race event?
I do. Yes.
It always seems like there's that. We're here, and now they're Hurricane Nate.
But I'm expecting something in Missoula, Montana. I mean, we're going to Montana in January, which apparently is one of the coldest.
Well, yeah. Well, they had a major news story. They have snow up there. They received 10 inches of snow overnight, and it closed everything down. That was 2 nights ago. The first snowfall of the year.
October. So
yeah.
How are we going to land there in January?
I think you land and you drive in somehow on a snow truck or something.
Oh.
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
As long as Chris and Linda make it, it really doesn't matter what happens to us. The show must go on. Let's not make it about us.
I did.
All right. 12 serves 3.
12-3 score here in game 2.
Short.
As Killian's trying to close this one out.
Second serve.
Killian's definitely going to have the most rest of anybody in the semifinals.
3 serves 12.
Marcos will also be the most well-rested for the fifth place playoff.
That's true.
But he's playing against a guy who lost just as badly.
12 serves 3.
Luis Cordova. Luis Cordova scoring just 7 points in his loss. Marcos is hovering around
13-3.
that 7-point mark, I would say.
Short. Second serve.
I believe losing that first game 15-4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Point.
Emmett Peixoto scores 30
Match
points
point,
combined
serve 3.
in the first 2 games and doesn't win the match.
Short.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Second serve.
Could be it. And it is.
Okay.
Killian Carroll takes down Marco Chavez, advances to the semifinals where he will face Sean Lenning at 5:45 this afternoon. That'll be local time. Now, things could change around here because our schedule has been completely messed up. But Mondo Ortiz and Daniel Cordova both had probably the longest matches. It should be flipped around the other way, having Sean Lenning and Killian play first based on the fact that they are more rested, but that's not the way it's going to be. We're going to take a break, though. Up next, it's going to be a semifinal of the 9th place playoffs between Stephen Cooney and Victor Perez. That'll be next, so we want you to stay around for that. That'll happen in about 10 minutes. For Dave Fink, my name is Dave Vincent. We'll have more handball here at race4eight.com. Stick around.